Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a tutorial for you so that in the future when I do my live paint with me streams, you all know how to do this if I send a printable out. And this is what I mean by a printable. I created this in Illustrator, and then you could print this out at home and transfer this image onto a canvas, and from there you can paint with me and have all of your guidelines right there. So I realize a lot of people have done this process since kindergarten, grade school, but some people might not know exactly how to do it. So I figured this video can be a good reference to reference people back in case they have questions or just want to see the process done. So the first thing I did was print out my printable. This is something I'm going to be using for an upcoming private class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very soft pencil. Right now I'm actually using woodless graphite, but you can use any drawing pencil that's pretty soft. If you have a set of drawing pencils, anything that is labeled with a B are your softer pencils, and the higher the number, the softer it is. The reason I am using a soft graphite, a soft pencil, is so that it will be easier to transfer from the paper onto the canvas. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go over all the lines with a pretty hard pressure on my pencil, just so I get a lot of graphite on the paper. It doesn't have to be perfect because it won't end up perfect when you end up transferring it anyway. So it does not have to be perfect, just so that you can kind of get the guidelines. Notice too that with the printable, all I did was print the basic lines. I didn't fill anything in, I didn't color anything. All it is a line, and that's what we want because the coloring and everything is going to end up coming in when we paint. So with that said, now that we have it, I actually flipped this when I created it in Illustrator. I flipped it horizontally because for the composition I want to do, I want him to be on the left of the canvas. So I printed it so that he's on the right. So now, after I've already used my pencil and gone over all the lines, I flip it over onto the canvas. I line it up where I want it to be on the canvas, which is all the way to the edges for this one. But I put it exactly where I'm going to want it on the canvas. There. Now that that is there, you're going to want it to stay pretty stable. You don't want it to move around too much, so make sure you're holding onto the paper through the whole next step. What I'm doing is I'm taking another pencil that does not have an eraser. This is an HB. It would have worked just fine for the line work also, but I'm going to use this, the other end of this pencil, and I am just going to start on one end, and I'm going to rub. And I'm going to rub. And I'm going to rub pretty hard so that all of that graphite that I just put on the lines transfers onto my canvas. Now, if you want to check it, hold the paper and just lift a corner. And it is transferring nicely. So then I put it back and I continue to rub. Make sure your paper doesn't move around too much. Go ahead and rub. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because this is not the last step. Also be careful when you're rubbing if you have a canvas that is stretched over wood. Careful not to press too hard, otherwise you might break the canvas. So I'm just kind of doing this in sections, keeping my pressure firm, yet not too much. I'm checking it without moving the paper around too much, just to make sure I've got the basics of my lines, and I do. So now it might be pretty hard to see in camera, but I do have just the faintest outline of what I want. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to very lightly go back over those lines, just so that when I'm painting I can see them pretty well. But I don't want them too dark, otherwise they will show through the paint that we're going to add. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The reason this time that it doesn't have to be perfect is because we will be painting over this. And there it is. You want your pencil marks to be very light. You also want them to just be lines. And that is where I will start when I'm making this example painting. So there you have it. If you ever need to trace something onto canvas, there is your process. Happy creating!